Excuse me, could you point me in the direction of ScreamCity? Never mind, I think I found it.
Hey horror freaks, welcome back to season 2 of ScreamCity. I'm your host, Jessica.
And I'm Monica, and in today's episode, we will be talking about a personal favorite of mine and a classic film, Killer Klowns From Outer Space. I won't be able to shut up about how much I love this movie. It is so comforting in so many ways to me.
Right. But of course, before we get into the actual movie, I think it's safe to kind of get our peak and pitch out of the way, which I feel like I know what both of our peaks are going to be.
Right.
But Monica, what has been your peak and, if any, pit of these past few days?
Yeah, for sure. So I think our peak is going to be pretty similar, which is Texas Frightmare Weekend that just happened over this past weekend. It was a lot of fun. I think last year was a little bit more overwhelming than this year, but ultimately I think we all had a lot of fun and we got to meet a lot of cool people celebrity-wise and then see some familiar faces, and I think that's always a lot of fun. We got to meet some new vendors, which was also really sweet. And yeah, I think Texas Frightmare overall is always a good time. I think we're now entering the little depressed era after such a great event.
Right.
So now we're just looking forward to next year and then some other horror conventions that also will be happening later this year. Mm-hmm. So that's always exciting. My pit, I think, is having to re-record this episode. I'll just go ahead and put that out there because I know I posted it on our Instagram. So we had to re-record this episode because our audio, it sounded so awful when we recorded it last night. And then I tried to stay up as long as I could to try to edit it, and it just wasn't working out. So we're just going to have to re-record it. So please excuse us if we keep spacing out on maybe some things, knowing if maybe we said something before or didn't. So bear with us. But overall, we're still really excited about this episode. It's a good one.
Yeah.
What about yours? I know you had a different peak as well. You mentioned it in your last one.
So again, my biggest peak was definitely TFW. Right. It's always a terrific time there, and like Monica mentioned, last year was a little bit more overwhelming because of a very tight space and a shitload of people, unexpected people.
Right.
But yeah, overall, this year's Texas Frightmare was a blast, and I miss it. Mm-hmm. Like Monica said, I am already entering my post TFW depression. It happens every year.
It's sad.
But yeah, I'm truly excited for all the other conventions we have going on this year. Mm-hmm. And then another peak I kind of had as well was like I mentioned in last week's episode, I went to Chicago for quite some time. I was there for about a week. Quite literally, I think. Yeah. And it was pretty fun. I was visiting some family, so yeah. And then a pit. I'm currently in my scrubs because I'm going to work today.
Absolutely.
And I'm working an overnight shift.
Yes. So. But at least now you're going to make money.
100%. So. Because let me tell you, this upcoming...
This past weekend...
broke. Left me broke as hell.
This past weekend left me a little broke. And then next weekend... Gonna leave me broke again.
Gonna leave me broke again.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, God.
Anyway, okay. Moving on to the episode and getting into the movie. I'm super, super excited about this movie. I love it. But we do mention in every episode that there will be spoilers, so don't say that we didn't warn you. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a brief summary of what this movie is about, if you don't already know. So, coming straight from Google. When teenagers Mike and Debbie see a comet crash outside their sleepy town, they investigate and discover a pack of murderous aliens who look very much like circus clowns. Murderous? Yes. Looking like circus clowns? Yes. Honestly, yeah, we mentioned in the last recording on how terrifying they look, and we'll get into that a little bit later, but it's a moment.
It is a moment.
This entire movie is just a moment, and it's a movie.
It is a movie.
So...
but now that we have that out of the way, Monica, I know you have some very strong feelings about this movie. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the honors of being the first one to say what your first impression was watching this film for the first time and what you would say is your favorite scene and kill.
Yes. So So when I was younger, I do remember watching bits and pieces of this, but I had never watched the movie all the way through until really recently, which was 2021. My boyfriend Mateo, he loves this movie. It's very nostalgic for him, so he was very excited to show me this movie, and I was very glad to watch it. And I'm so glad that I did, because the minute I watched it, I fell in love with it so much, and I can definitely see how much of a fun movie this is. And so there's definitely some controversial lines coming from like Mooney specifically as a character, but overall this movie became a comfort movie for me, so I love it. My first impression was like falling in love. It's also the aesthetic of the movie, and I think that's something that they had mentioned at the panel, is like the aesthetic of this movie. I feel like it's also what it's known for aside from the film itself. But it's like the setting, the colors, the theme of it overall is like so much fun. My favorite scene, I love the scene where Rudy and Shorty are just fucking shit up in the convenience store. They're just like tossing shit. They're just like going through all the aisles. They're just going. And then like there's a scene where Rudy takes things up to the counter. He has like a hat on. He has like so much shit in his arms, and he just lays it out on the counter like, I'm ready.
And we all know damn well that man was not going to pay for shit.
Absolutely not. He's like, I need a bag. That's why he went up to the counter. He's like, I need something to put all this stuff in. But it's so cute. I love it so much. I think we all felt represented in this movie by a clown. Obviously, we kind of made ultimately me Shorty because of my height, but I do see myself a lot in Rudy. No thoughts, just vibes.
Lights on, no one's home.
Absolutely.
And I also appreciated the chubby and fatso, right? See, that's my type of representation.
Yeah, slim, not so much, but
yeah, but
ultimately
he's tall.
Yeah,
and I'm tall. So,
yeah, there you go. But yeah, and then Faith Kill. I love the beheading when Shorty uppercuts the guy in the alley. It's another representation of how us short people have to compensate in certain areas.
Right.
Which I definitely feel represented in that sense. So, man, what did we say last time? I was like that he jumped like 12 feet in the air and it just came right back down with boxing gloves. Like, how do you see that and still try to fight him? Yeah, like still try to fight something that, I don't know. It was just insane.
It's a thing for sure.
Yeah. But what about yours?
So my first impression, I think Monica mentioned this for a very brief second in last week's episode, but Monica was actually the one to show me the movie, but this is one of my best friend's favorite movies of all time as well. So I knew about the movie, but I never had the chance to actually watch it until I want to say sometime last year, where we actually got a sneak peek as to who was going to be some of the guests for this year's TFW. So when we got home, Monica started playing the movie, and listen, I'm just going to say two things about my first impression.
Absolutely.
Number one, I liked it a lot. I think it's a great movie. It's very funny. It's a feel-good, not really feel-good, but it's like a comforting movie.
I feel like it is a feel-good. Well, okay, I see what you mean.
It gets you in a silly, goofy mood.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Agreed.
And then number two, all I'm going to say is something very LGBT happened to me. And that's all.
Yes. And what better way to celebrate Pride Month than to start off with this colorful of a movie? Right, in all ways.
For sure. Yeah.
There's something very gay about this movie, and it has nothing to do with the clowns. No.
No, ma'am. There's an enemies to lovers trope in this
100%
in this film, and it's not between a man and a woman.
It's not. So I think if you're interested in that type of trope, yeah, this can be one for you. 100%. Starting as enemies, ending as lovers.
Right.
100%.
Right. My favorite scene, I gotta hand it to the puppet show scene where the guy walks into the gazebo and just starts watching the puppet show. And many questions about this scene in general. Of course, many questions about the movie in general. But how is this man not going to question anything? Like, that. What?
Yeah. Anyway. That man had he didn't question that there was no kids around. He didn't question that this was an empty gazebo with just like a puppet stand.
Yeah. He was lights on, no one's home.
100%. That mullet was
this man's
giving.
right. This man's acting and facial expressions were so funny to me, and he just seemed to be really enjoying it too. He seemed like such a little himbo.
For sure.
It
for
was
sure.
adorable.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that puppet show scene is super iconic in many ways. I know, I don't doubt that other places have it, but I know Spirit Halloween has, I think, the puppets for sale, which I think
it's kind of like a merch
pretty
thing
cool.
for
Yeah.
sure. And like the little storyline that the puppet show was giving of her saying no and him saying yes, and then her taking out the little, you said it was the cocoon gun, right? That she
I
like,
think so, yeah.
and then she turns him into a cocoon. And she's like, all men
Period.
deserve to be cocooned. So
Right. I
yeah,
agree.
100%.
My favorite kill, I have two. The first one I will say, the exact same one as Monica's. It's the biker's death.
It's so good.
It was my favorite because it was one of my favorites. Because number one, how are you going to see such a cute little baby clown and decide, I'm going to destroy his tricycle?
Absolutely.
That is what he gets.
100%.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm like
100%.
100% because he's
I also love the foreshadowing. First of all, there's a lot of foreshadowing in the movie, I
there
think.
is.
But I love the foreshadowing of when the biker says, "What are you gonna do? Knock my block off?" And guess what? He sure did knock his head off.
And guess what? He sure did.
He sure did.
He ended that shit immediately.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you say the last one? You were like, hashtag end bullying?
Yeah. Shorty was like, hashtag end bullying.
Yeah,
okay?
100%.
But yeah, and again, kind of like what Monica said, when Shorty came back with the boxing gloves, first of all, it was so adorable. Because he does the
100%.
little dance. He's so cute. But also, where did they come from? I think I said last night's recording. I was like, did Jesus put them on him?
He went straight up to the man himself. That man said, here's some gloves. Go ahead and go back
Yes,
down
ma'am.
and knock his block off.
Yes, ma'am. So that one's definitely one of my favorites. But the second one is the shadow hand.
The shadow puppet.
T-Rex.
Like, yo, that one was a
Yo.
good one. Because not only did he... Like, it wasn't even... First of all, that's also another, like, iconic scene because they recreated that in the haunted house at Universal where he's, like, showing little puppets and then he'll come at you, kind of like a little jump scare. But he literally killed
A group.
of people. And they were all different ages, too.
He
Like,
doesn't discriminate.
it does not discriminate. He said old, young, kids, elders, everything in between. LGBTs, people of
Punks.
color. Like, there was all
Everyone.
kinds of representation in this movie, and they all got killed.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love that too.
I feel like Michael Myers does the same.
Oh yeah,
I've
Michael
seen
Myers
him
does
kill
not discriminate.
kids. Yeah,
He
he's like,
kills kids. He kills animals. He kills lady GBs.
he kills women. He kills men. He kills anything that comes in his way.
Anything, bro.
So, we love an inclusive killer.
For sure.
But yeah, okay, yeah, that is a really good one. So now we'll just discuss the movie just a little bit more. So some of our favorite moments and just kind of some things that we've maybe noticed. But the first one that I'll kind of mention is R.I.P. Pooh Bear, which we came up with a theory.
We did.
We did. We don't know. I think you had said that the people who die in this movie, we eventually end up seeing them wrapped in a cocoon later in the movie.
Right.
But we don't see Pooh Bear throughout
Exactly.
the movie. So my assumption is that they snatched him and they kept him, and now he's just living his best life in their little like circus UFO tent type of thing.
Yeah.
Because we don't see
they
him.
need a pet.
They
Right?
do. Because
they need a
we
pet.
said that the balloon animal, the balloon
Just
dog,
wasn't doing it for them.
no, he just kind of barks at everything.
Yeah.
And he's not a lazy, cuddly type of deal. So my assumption.
But yeah, so R.I.P. but not R.I.P. because
Right.
in my eyes, Pooh Bear is living his best life out in outer space
Absolutely.
with these killer clowns. So,
I love it.
yeah.
The popcorn gun, I think we kind of have to mention because in the panel that the Killer Klowns did, somebody had gone up to ask a question, and they had mentioned that I think that the popcorn gun was one of the most expensive props that they had, and that it also and they asked if it maybe malfunctioned or if they played with it behind the scenes. One of the Kyoto brothers please forgive us because we don't individually know their names yet, and then they all do kind of look alike.
There's 3 of them, okay?
There's 3 of them.
There's 3 of them, and they all look alike.
Yeah. But one of them had basically mentioned that he essentially made the gun the hard way before he found out that there was a simple way to make props in this way. But the prop guy who essentially made the popcorn gun forgot to cover the back end of the gun, so when he shot it for the first time, all of the popcorn exploded on him and went everywhere. And so I thought that was really fun. But they did say, he did mention, the guy who asked the question mentioned that it was the most expensive prop, and then one of the Kyoto brothers said, like, who told you that?
I want names.
I need names immediately.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was really fun. A lot of them, I don't think, a lot of them said that there wasn't so much going on behind the scenes. Like, I'm sure they had so much fun, but it doesn't sound like any of them kept anything. It doesn't sound like any of them, like, I think we had also mentioned that they mentioned that this movie was supposed to be something for themselves.
Right, yeah. The Kyoto brothers mentioned that they were genuinely surprised that there's even a fandom 35 years later for this movie, because they made a film for them. Mm-hmm. They made a film for themselves. They, took from other movies that they loved, and they created this movie, and they never, stopped mentioning this during the panel, but they were like, this was just meant for us.
Yeah.
So we're glad that, people caught on and all of that. And I know another thing that they said was that someone, again, it was one of the Kyoto brothers, don't know which one, someone told that specific Kyoto brother that their grandfather, the person telling the Kyoto brother this, their grandfather showed his father, the guy's father, the movie, and that his father showed him the movie. So it's been passed down through 3 generations of, Killer Clown fans, and
I'm obsessed with that.
I'm obsessed because you know that you made it.
Oh, 100%.
First of all, personally, I think you know that you made it when your merch sells at Spirit Halloween.
Oh, 100%. Because I feel like Spirit Halloween sells the most
iconic,
and the most beloved franchise type of things that are very popular. And so I don't know if we had mentioned it or if we mentioned it between us that we are expecting or hoping to see Terrifier at Spirit sometime this year.
I think that'd be interesting.
But
very cool.
Yeah, I think you had also mentioned that that's what happened with that guy and his line of generation with Killer Klowns was going to be you, but with Terrifier.
100%.
So you're just going to pass it on.
Yeah.
Continuously.
Yeah. And if there's a generation years after me that's like, you know what, I don't want to pass this to my children, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna haunt them.
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree. I think it's only right.
All right,
we need to keep that going
for sure.
No, but yeah, they had also mentioned that they filmed in their basement or in the garage with a 35 millimeter, and that they were just kind of doing these small projects just for themselves, and Killer Klowns ended up being one of them. And they had also confirmed that Killer Klowns they didn't consider it a horror genre. It's actually just a comedy sci-fi movie, but the horror community embraced it so much that it just kind of became this iconic horror. It kind of got put into this genre that they weren't really expecting to. And they're really happy. And they had mentioned that they're very happy that the horror community embraced it the way that it did. And I'm glad too. It's really low on the scary side. It's not scary at all. But there are some elements.
There are some moments where it can get a little gory-ish.
100%.
There's literally a beheading scene.
Yeah. And you see the head by itself.
You do see the head by itself. And then I think the faces of people in the cocoon is just so disturbing to me.
It is really disturbing.
So
it's pretty
gross.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, and then the way Mooney dies is also pretty gross and disgusting. Using him as a puppet, and then the way that he takes out his hand out of his back, it's really disgusting.
Very gross.
But yeah, anyway.
But it's definitely not on the level of Terrifier, though.
Absolutely not. Terrifier is definitely 100% more gross.
Yeah.
But also the clowns themselves look pretty disturbing and scary. And we had mentioned in the first recording that we don't understand how people, given it's a movie, we understand. But we don't understand how people in the movie who are supposed to act like citizens see these like not even 6 foot, like 7-8 foot clowns that look terrifying, but they're okay with them just walking around and terrorizing the town, thinking that. And I'm like, I don't even think this was around Halloween time either. So I can only imagine walking down the street and seeing this like 7 foot type clown murderous.
If I see one like that, I'm running the other way.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt.
So yeah, I don't know. There's like some scary elements that makes it look creepy, but overall it's supposed to be just a comedy sci-fi movie.
Right. Another thing I'd like to mention.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
And I think this is one of the most important things that we'll probably mention throughout the episode is Dave and Mike. Very strong chemistry. Very strong chemistry. And I'm telling y'all, there's some enemies to lovers in here.
Yes.
And it's not between Deb or
Anyone.
Deb and Dave or Deb and Mike. It's Dave and Mike.
It's Dave and Mike.
Gay as hell.
Gay as hell.
Because
Happy Pride. Be who you are.
Be who you are.
Yeah, they're gay as hell, and you can't convince us otherwise. There's a whole fandom apparently.
There is
to this entire
and
theory.
if you don't believe us, Tumblr and Wattpad would say otherwise.
100%.
Because I've already done my digging. I already have done.
You've
my
already
digging.
started.
I've
You
already
went down
started.
that rabbit hole.
Yes, I fell down a rabbit hole.
Yes.
But yeah, it's
it's the way that they start off hating each other, and then towards the end of the movie, Dave cannot keep his hands off Mike.
I'm telling you, something very LGBT happened to me while I was watching this film for the first time. And I think all of everyone in that room, wasn't it like Melody, Gina, Julie, you and me?
I don't think Julie was there for
she-
that one. No, it was just us four.
Okay.
Every single one of us, we said, why are they acting a little
too
fruity?
touchy. A little too touchy.
They're acting a little tutti fruity.
But guess what? I'm not complaining.
No
'Cause I'm all
complaints on
for
this
it.
side. Absolutely.
I'm all for it.
Absolutely. We're not hating. We're just saying, be who you are. Embrace it.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Although my question is, at the end of the movie, did Dave and Deb get back together?
Oh,
Because he
that's
was
right.
rubbing on her shoulders, he was kissing her head.
Kissing her head.
And
making
Mike
it
saw all of that. So I'm like, what happened in between everything? I'm really
like
confused.
who broke up. There's no continuity with that small gray area. Yeah, I don't know where it's kind of like her affection shifted from Mike and then it shifted to Dave. They could be giving a little throuple.
Poly.
They probably like a little poly, a little throuple. Maybe they accepted him because Mike realized how attractive and handsome and charismatic Dave is, and so they were like, yeah, let's join.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think you had also mentioned that. Were you going to ask if they died at the end?
Yeah, that was another question that I had, which was, did they die at the end? Because the pies
They get slapped
fell
with pies
on them. And my question is, were those the same pies that killed the officer? The last officer that we see? Or were they just regular pies? But if they're regular pies, what are they doing there?
The Mr. What are you going to do with
feel-
those pies, boys?
Oh, yeah, what are you going to do with those pies, boys?
They chunk pies at him, and then he ends up melting, and he ends up becoming like this big blob of just pie. And then Shorty goes and puts a cherry on top. But I mean, yeah, all three of them, they're all like hugging each other, and then they look up into the sky, and then pies hit them in the face. And that's true. That's a really good question. Like, did they end up dying at the end? Because if so, they should have melted all together.
Honestly.
Yeah. So, yeah. I guess last little thing that we'll mention is, or at least so whenever I went to Universal Studios for Halloween Horror Nights, they had a Killer Klowns maze, and I would just like to say that they did such a fantastic job. The setup for this maze was it was honestly so surreal. Each area that you walked into genuinely felt like a scene of the movie. And one of the questions that somebody had asked at the Killer Klowns panel was if any of them attended the maze, and Suzanne Snyder, and I think some of the Kyoto brothers had mentioned that they visited. And all of them said that they felt like they were back on set and that everyone did a really good job with creating the maze, and I think that's so awesome. It really was like they even got it down to the smell. There's an area where you walk into where there's like cocoons of bodies hanging, and then there's like a popcorn machine popping the popcorn, and then like the audio in the background is saying like, oh my god, it smells like cotton candy or something, and it smells like candy in that little area. And then you walk out and you walk into like a police station. You have like the bathroom scene, where like the little popcorn monsters pop out of the laundry basket. And then, like, at the end, you see, like, Clownzilla. And, like, it's, like, the whole thing was just so much fun to see. I think this was Universal's second year bringing back Killer Klowns as, like, a maze. So I hope they do it again at some point, because it's overall it was a really fun one to experience. But,
yeah, I do remember from the panel that Suzanne, who plays Debbie, mentioned that she took her son to the house.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so cool. And I don't remember who else. I know one or maybe all of them, the Kyoto brothers,
mentioned that they also
were the ones who said that they felt like
that they were
back on set. So I think that was really cool.
Yeah.
To be able to
experience it
again.
And I think they had also mentioned like the fact that and I think Suzanne Snyder had mentioned that she's like, it's honestly crazy to think that something that we created so long ago is still so popular now, that they are recreating actual scenes from the movie that we thought wouldn't do too well, and now it's like become this huge thing. So it's kind of like surreal, kind of going back in time.
Absolutely.
But it's fun. Yeah. But speaking of the cast.
I think now's a pretty good time to get into them and talk a little bit more about them, which, by the way, almost half of the cast was at the convention, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But, of course, just to name a few, we've got Grant Kramer, Suzanne Snyder, John Allen Nelson, John Vernon, Michael S. Siegel, Peter Licassi, Royal Dano, Christopher Titus, Mike Martinez, and Herod Blank. And again, just to name a few.
And the majority of those were all clowns.
Yeah, most of them were all clowns.
Right, and then the Kyoto brothers as well.
Yeah, of course.
I also appreciate going to the panel for the Kyoto brothers, because for the longest time I was pronouncing it with the CH, so like Kyoto brothers, and then they said their own name and it's Kyoto, and I was like, oh. So I appreciate the correction. So now, moving forward, I will be sure to pronounce it correctly.
And may I just say, John Allen Nelson aged like fine wine.
And so did Susan Snyder, but yes.
They both, everyone.
But John Allen Nelson,
bro.
I saw him at his booth, and I was like,
damn.
All due respect.
Damn.
He aged like fine wine.
Voluminous. It's like it never left the 80s.
Yes, it's giving.
It's very handsome man. But also, speaking of never leaving the 80s, and I mean this in the most nicest way ever, Suzanne Snyder's, like, oh my god, what's the word? Like, not appearance, but way of speaking and acting.
Like,
her persona.
And the way that she is.
Reminds me so much of the 80s still. Because I obviously grew up watching a shit ton of 80s movies. We all went through our 80s phase, I think.
Right.
And, the way that she talks is just so 80s, and I love it so much because the way that she says, like, totally. She has such, like, a Valley Girl accent.
And then, like, I think there was some times where she was, like, speaking, and then she'd be like, right? Like, she's very, so like, yeah.
Yeah, they were all great.
Yeah, and the way she carries herself is like, that woman, she's like, I'm staying in the 80s.
100%.
She's like, 80s was my era, and I'm staying there.
Yeah, as she should.
It's honestly the best.
It is.
Because a lot of the things that we, like, fashion-wise and, like, trend-wise comes from, like, 80s, 90s now. So she fits perfectly.
100%.
And I love it.
Like we mentioned, the cast was just amazing. And
yeah.
I know you had your photo op with
oh, yes.
Blank and Martinez, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How did that go? It was fun. It was really fun. So they were both in costume, and you'll see, we'll post a photo of it, of my photo op. It was me, my boyfriend, and the two of the clowns. I think it was Slim, and I think it was Rudy. And like, they were in costume, but the men's are not facing the camera. I can tell that they could not see in their costume, which I can only imagine. In the photo op, Slim puts his hand on my neck, and the glove alone felt so heavy. He was kind of tugging on my hair a little bit, so I felt very restrained. But it was a lot of fun. The background setting to the photo op was very cute. And then I think Rudy or one of the other clowns was holding like a pie, so it's really cute. It was a lot of fun. I mean, photo ops, if you've done photo ops, you know how quick they are. So it was just a quick, like, okay, here you go, ready, set, go. But it was cute. And we'll post it, and then you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about.
That's exciting. And then, so we're actually going to skip facts, because guess what? Half of this episode is just pure facts that we got from the people themselves.
Yes.
So
they didn't come from, what do you say all the time? IMDb?
IMDb. I don't know what I say.
You say IMBD.
I always say I am.
You switch the D and the B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
IMBD. I always say that because
it rolls off the tongue better.
Yeah.
Which I can see.
Makes more sense. But
this came from the actual cast.
This did come from the actual cast.
Silly, goofy moments.
So instead of facts, what we're going to be doing is I found some really funny reviews on this movie.
Yes.
Online.
Yeah.
Specifically Tumblr.
Right.
Thank you, Tumblr. Mm-hmm. So I will be, reading them all and just kind of, getting our opinion on these reviews.
Yeah.
The first one is, how were all of those people not scared of the clowns before they got murdery? Like, ma'am, they're 6 feet and look like they're rotting.
They really do. And like, even in person, when I was doing my photo op, they're, like, looking at it up close is honestly terrifying, given I'm sure the people who worked on set with them almost every day got used to it. But in the split second that I got a glimpse of what Slim looks like up close, I was like, absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
I said, no, thank you. So,
they just don't
I agree.
Look right.
There's a picture. So because I kind of posted on our Instagram story, updating you guys of like how I couldn't edit the audio or whatever. The last picture that I posted on our Instagram story, if you caught it, is of Rudy. And it's very up close. And I think you can only imagine if you actually saw that in person. So if you take a second to look at our Instagram story of us updating you guys, I put a picture of him. Like, one eye is almost fully closed. The other one is like halfway open, but it looks like he has a little bit of a lazy eye. His eyes are like purple. He's very dirty. Like, he
just
looks
like me
high.
For real.
He just had me for real.
He just like me for real.
But I don't know. I can only imagine what it looks like in person. No, thank you.
But also it was like the 80s. And
people were trusting more in the 80s.
A little bit, yeah.
70s, 80s. Like, people were kind of like, oh, cute. Yeah. I'm like, there's nothing cute about that.
No, man. Second one is Pennywise was found dead in a ditch. Absolutely, I agree.
Found dead in his gutter.
In his little sewer. If there was a movie between Killer Klowns from one, you know what? If there was a movie between Shorty and Pennywise,
the shortest one, yes, ma'am.
Shorty would knock Pennywise's block off.
Pennywise shitting bricks. He's shitting bricks because he's scared.
Well, I agree.
Shorty got his ass.
I don't doubt it.
Like that. Yes, ma'am. Agreed.
Yeah. The third review is, what if I ate one of the popcorn guys? Then what?
That's it. Eating my intestines coming out every time I eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's becoming my
like
stomach.
Every time you open your mouth, those little like...
It's a little popcorn guy.
Little popcorn guy just comes out of your mouth.
That is a really funny one, though, because it's like what if you don't notice that they sprayed you with popcorn? Because it's like, why the fuck are you spraying me with popcorn?
Yeah. Like, I'm so scared of popcorn. I'm just
gonna eat it. I'm just gonna eat it.
And then, no, there was something else that I said, I think.
You were like, what if they were the eggs?
Yeah, I was like, what if they're the eggs? Like, and they hatch.
Yeah.
That's how clowns hatch. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think because aside from noticing it whenever it's Debbie's scene in the bathroom because they pop out of her little laundry basket, I think we first notice it when the popcorn gets thrown in the trash can, and then something else gets thrown in the trash can, or they drag someone in the trash can and they just start eating at it.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think something like that. So I'm like, I can only imagine if you were to actually eat one of those. So I'm like, I don't know how long it takes, but it's pretty gross.
It's interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
This one says, this documentary about the clown sightings of 2016 is much crazier than I expected.
Bro.
2016 was a fever dream in
You were like,
itself.
do you remember that at that time? And I was like, absolutely.
I remember.
And then you were telling...
Yes. I was still in
school.
high school in 2016 when the whole, like, clown sightings thing was a thing. And I remember specifically, I was in my math class, and our principal came on to the PA, and there was, like, this rumor or something going around social media that was like, Killer Klowns are going to our high school or coming to our high school, blah, blah, blah. And literally, the principal got onto the PA and was like, guys, the clowns are not coming.
He said, y'all go ahead. Y'all chill out.
Y'all chill out.
It's
Y'all
not-
finish your math homework.
Y'all
Like,
finish
we
y'all's
got
math.
this.
And then everyone is like, how can we relax?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We just over dramatized, or, we just made it super
100%.
dramatic. And
then
as we
there's...
should.
Well, and then there was, like, videos of some people genuinely, like, overdoing it and then, like,
Yeah.
scaring people on roads and shit. So that was crazy. But this was exactly that. Like, people were
100%.
just sighting clowns everywhere.
If you were not alive in 2016 to witness this
Epidemic.
just watch
Of
Killer Klowns from
clowns
Outer
everywhere.
Space, and that's literally what happened.
That's basically what happened. So they weren't joking in that comment when they said this was a documentary.
Yeah, 100%. This one says justice for Pooh Bear,
It's plain and simple.
plain and simple.
Plain and
but
sim- I need
at the
that on a
same
shirt.
time- At the same time, no, because he's still alive.
Oh, yeah, that's
You know what I
true.
mean?
Our theory is saying that
Yeah.
he is alive.
Yeah, he's just a little baby.
Yeah, he's just a little baby, but I need that on a shirt.
Justice for Pooh Bear.
Justice for Pooh Bear.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like it's more justice for, who is it, Farmer Green?
Farmer Green.
Yeah. Where's my Pooh Bear?
Yeah,
Justice
that
for
was really
him
sad.
because he lost his dog.
He did.
Because Pooh Bear's still alive, but Farmer Green lost a
not.
friend. Oh. Do we see if he died?
Yeah, he was the first cotton candy guy.
This is 100% true. You are so right.
Yeah.
That's true.
Mike, whenever Mike rips it apart, the cocoon, that's his face. I
That's
think.
true. That's true.
This one says, Shorty the clown is my best friend. My little meow meow even.
My little meow meow.
And it's so true because
I
he's
need
just a
it.
little baby.
I also need that on a photo. Or on a t-shirt. I need
Mm-hmm.
a picture of Shorty, and then on like the side or the bottom it says my little meow meow.
My little meow meow.
Mm-hmm.
My little baby. Just
I
a
love
little baby.
these. I'm sorry. Poor little Shorty. I love him. He got bullied, and
He
then
sure
he
did.
said, "I'm gonna end it by murdering you."
And this leads up to the next review that says, when a clown puts on boxing gloves to run hands against someone, I knew this movie wouldn't be clowning around.
Absolutely.
Yes,
I love
ma'am.
the verbiage. I love the description. But I'm telling you, you are not going to see me fight. So, okay, this is also another thing. If all of the clowns are like 6 feet, 7 feet, how tall is Shorty?
Girl, he's probably your height.
He
5
well,
foot.
no, I assume he's taller. Like let's say Slim. I think Slim is one of the tallest ones. Let's
Yeah, I
say he
think
was
so,
like
too.
7 foot. All of the rest of them are like 6'5", 6'7", 6'2". Shorty is probably
Like 5'9".
yeah,
5'9", 5'8". My short king.
my little short king. But that's what I mean. He's still tall as hell.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, and I love it because him in boxing gloves, he's just doing
He's
his
just
little
so
dancey dance,
cute.
and then he's like that's like also another like a little iconic thing.
Yeah.
Like you'll see animatronics.
I know there's so many animatronics of
Yeah.
Shorty,
And he's just like
Um,
do.
and I think they're so cute
I love him.
because you're literally the same height.
Yep.
You and Alexia are the exact same height as Shorty.
Actually, you are so right because even the animatronic, I think we're the same height.
Actually, I think Shorty's a little bit taller than you.
He's 4 feet. Gina right now he's 4 feet and 6 inches. Never mind, he is shorter than I am. Wow, but he's still willing to kill a man.
But he's still cute. He's just a
still
little
cute.
baby.
He's just a little baby.
Yeah. A little meow meow.
Have
Anyway.
you adopted another horror baby?
Yes.
Aside from Sam?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
You adopted
I
Shorty.
love. It's just they're so cute. They're just little killing babies.
They
Oh
do
my God.
nothing wrong.
Just like my cat.
You have an attraction with like murderous things.
I have like a mama instinct, if you know what I mean.
To accept the broken.
Yes, except the broken.
Yeah.
The beaten and the damned.
The beaten and the damned.
Yes, ma'am.
Moving
Anyway, this next one says, this movie teaches a valuable lesson about sugar consumption, interior design, and keeping extremely low expectations for police effectiveness.
Okay, first of all, 100% true. Cannot agree more. And I think we had also mentioned in the last recording that this entire movie is definitely a fever dream.
1000%.
If it's one thing, if you never experienced what a fever dream is,
just watch this movie. But that leads me to my last review. Just kidding. My second to last review. Which is, this is the type of fever dream you have after falling asleep on the couch around 2 a.m. off a binge of popcorn, gummy worms, and cotton candy.
Imagine waking up in the middle of watching this movie after a popcorn scene, and then you have popcorn just sitting on your table.
I would freak the fuck out.
I would throw it away immediately.
I'd probably throw up.
I have to throw this up. I can't I can't consume this anymore. It's no, 100%. You ever have that type of sleepiness after indulging in so much crappy food? You're just like, oh my god, I can take
your sugar high.
Oh, it's like a sugar high. So then I can only imagine dreaming on that sugar high, and that's exactly what this movie is.
You don't need Mary Jane.
No,
you don't need Mary Jane.
You just need a shit ton of candy
to feel high to watch this movie
and hella buttery popcorn.
There's a lot of movies, and my sister says this specifically, but there's a lot of movies that my sister and I watch, and she's like, I have to be high to watch this movie. Mm-hmm. She said that about The Fly. She said that about The Fly. She said that about Everything Everywhere All at Once.
That movie is insane.
Yes. But for this movie specifically, you don't need Mary Jane.
No.
All you need is a sugar high and an icy.
So you need to have extremely buttery popcorn, all the type of sugary candies.
Sweets.
And then you need to wash it down with more sweet with an icy. Yes. 100%. And with that, and you watch this, there you go.
You're going to be astral projecting.
It's like Insidious, but with clowns.
That's terrifying.
And that's honestly the worst. I think I'd rather experience the devil from Insidious.
I'd rather experience Bagul from Sinister.
That is 100%. Because you know what? The thing about the demon and Bagul is I'm going to be afraid.
Right.
You know what I mean? But with these clowns, I'm going to be afraid and confused.
Yes.
And I am not going to understand. And I think that's what makes my anxiety worse.
Right.
So at least with Bagul, I know their intentions.
Right.
But with these clowns, they're going to try to cocoon me. They're going to try to... I don't know if they're going to eat me. I don't know if they just want to kill me. I don't know if they just want to kidnap me. I don't know what they want with me. At least with, the demon and the Bagul, I know they just want my soul. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, go ahead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can only run for so much.
Right.
But these fucking clowns, no thank you.
But I think this final one we leave off with is a pretty good one.
Okay.
And DJ Monica might need you for a second. Because this one says, me to the DJ at the club. Yeah, you got the motherfucking Killer Klowns From Outer Space theme song.
Also, I looked up,
Listen, I would throw ass in the club to this song.
Okay, so I tell Gina this all the time, every time that we watch Shrek or that anytime All Stars comes on. Because if one thing about me is I love me a classic.
100%.
Okay. And Shrek is my classic.
Understood.
Okay. Also, I visited after we recorded our episode last night. I went over to, and I'm so sorry to my nephew. I have to say this because I think it's the funniest thing, and I don't think you understand on how much I relate to this as an adult. Okay. So, and I think you guys would also understand. So, he has this friend that he hangs out with, right? And so he was like, she told me the other day she's never seen Scooby-Doo, the live action. And he was like, so I made her watch Scooby-Doo. And I was like, girl, that's me with Shrek. I was like, you ain't never seen Shrek? Put it on. Mm-hmm. You ain't never seen Shrek in Spanish? Put it on. You have to experience these cinematic masterpieces, right?
That's me with Terrifier. You never watched Terrifier?
You never seen immediately.
That's me with my mama. That's me with my grandpapa.
That's me. My grandmama who got dementia. Or dementia. Like, I need people to see these characters and understand why I'm obsessed with these, right?
Yeah.
And so I just thought it was like the funniest
Very
thing.
proud
because
of your nephew, though.
honestly,
extremely proud.
I was like, the fact that you're exposing people to Matthew
To-
Lillard as Shaggy,
to classics.
to classics, to cinematic masterpieces. And I am considering Killer Klowns to be one of those. So when people tell me, I've never seen it, putting on immediately. And then not only that, the soundtrack to Killer Klowns, fucking bop. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned this in the last recording, and then I was like, I'm walking down the aisle. And the people who are giving me away, every single clown.
Every single clown.
I'm rolling deep.
Not only every single clown, but Grant Kramer, John Allen Nelson, fucking Suzanne Snyder. They're all walking me down the aisle.
The Kyoto Brothers. I need absolutely
every one of them.
Absolutely. The audience, my guests, the entire cast and crew of Killer Klowns. Not one family member or friend in sight. It's all everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. And I think I just
should.
By a band called The Dickies.
Period. Yeah.
What? Yeah. Killer Klowns
I'm telling
from
you,
outer
I'm
space.
throwing ass.
I
in the
tell
club.
Gina this all the time, that my funeral needs to be Shrek themed, and I need to be buried 6 feet deep while All Stars is playing. But also play this. Like, play this as y'all are walking out of my funeral.
Just for a final like commentary as to, I'm not clowning around about being dead. Because I'm not.
I'm not fucking joking about this shit,
This
y'all.
ain't
I'm
no
really
joke.
dead.
I'm dead as dead.
I'm dead as fuck.
Yeah.
Yep. And then I have like this whole thing of like my funeral being Shrek themed, everyone wearing Shrek ears, everyone cosplaying as a character, right? And then burying me with my Shrek ears. Like, it's a whole moment. But now I'm kind of reconsidering. I kind of wonder if I should make it Killer Klowns
Well,
themed.
what you could do is
Have like an after party.
no. What you could do is get buried with Shorty's mask on.
Ooh.
And a stuffed animal of Donkey
Oh.
in your hands.
You know what? It's all about the classics with me.
Yes, ma'am.
It's all about and then not only that, I'm gonna need, you know how like people do the thing where like once the casket is kind of already 6 feet deep and then they kind of throw like hands full of dirt. I'm gonna need y'all to grab like a sticker and then like just smack it on my coffin of like different things.
100%.
So like Scooby-Doo, Shaggy, Shrek, Fiona, Donkey, Slim, Shorty, Fatso, like everyone, you know what I mean? Of all the classics.
Pooh Bear.
Pooh Bear. Immediately.
Yes,
right
ma'am.
there. Yes, ma'am.
And see what you were saying about you and your nephew about showing people these classics.
I'm telling you, I was so proud.
That was me on Halloween 2022. Yeah, 2022. Literally last year. Because my friend Gio and Kayla had never watched Scream. And I was like, how am I even friends with y'all right now?
First of all, that's going to be my next my friend circle is very small. I don't expect to expand it any more than what it is. But if I'm getting to know you on a personal level, if you tell me no to watching any of my 3 classics, it's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
You
like,
know, I already don't have friends. so
I'm going to keep it that way.
I'm going to keep it that way.
Anyway, you were showing your friends Scream.
No, so I was showing them, and it's so funny because, and I know I mentioned this during, I forgot what episode we were talking about, but
I think it was the Scream one.
Huh?
I think it was the Scream
I think it
one.
was the Scream one, but they fell in love with Randy during Scream 1.
Randy.
And then we started Scream 2, and they yelled at me.
Absolutely.
They were mad at me because Randy died. And I'm like,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Well.
It's because Randy is such a likable character, and you can relate to him in so many ways.
He's so relatable.
And the fact that they took him away from us.
They sure did.
After having him spit facts.
Mm-hmm.
It's unfortunate.
The only logical person.
I need that on a shirt just for Randy.
Yeah, just as for Randy.
And then like all of his rules on the back of the shirt. That's a shirt idea.
That's a shirt.
No one steal that.
No. We're going to trademark it.
I'm going to trademark that. Trademark.
But anyway.
Moving
along to
I love that so much.
episode.
Anyway.
I think it's a good time right now to play a little
Would You Rather?
Yeah.
We need a button.
So, we do need a button.
Little record button.
So, for this would you rather be transformed into a cotton candy cocoon, but eventually escape, or capture a killer clown, but live with the constant fear of revenge from the other clowns.
And so, we can't deny that since we've already recorded this, we've already chosen our answer. I don't know if yours has changed. I don't know if you've pondered on it a little bit more. I don't think mine has either. I rather become a cocoon because we said we would eat our way out.
100%.
And then on our way out, it's going to be an entire fever dream because they're going to use a lot of cotton candy for me to wrap my big ass in a cocoon. And if I have to eat my way out, that's a lot of cotton candy I have to go through. So I'm going to have to go through their little spaceship. Everything in there is so fucking colorful. I can only imagine.
I would really like to see a 3D print of or layout of their tent because I'm really confused.
There's the first scene where Mike and Debbie first go in and then they go in through that one elevator where it's all like electricity, but it's also like a big ass black hole.
Who was it? It was motherfucking Mike, who was like, when Dave kept, I don't remember who was opening the doors, but at the very end, I think it was Mike that was like, it's a door, it's another door. It's another door.
Yes,
like,
yes.
bro.
Like,
we
bro,
get
no,
it.
but just fucking open it.
Just
keep
we
going.
Get it. It's a door,
like,
bro.
Okay, go. And then it's like, dude, yeah, because it was like a smaller door within like every size door. That was pretty frustrating to watch.
It was. But yeah, basically, my would you rather answer hasn't changed from last night.
So yes, choosing cotton candy.
I would rather be transformed into a cotton candy cocoon because, like Monica mentioned in last night's recording, it looks comfy, and I would take a nap in there first. Take a little, and then when I wake up from my nap, I will eat my way through the cotton candy, and then escape. And
on my way out,
you can kill two birds with one stone. And after escaping from the cotton candy cocoon, you could try to capture a killer clown.
I'm swooping up Shorty like a hawk.
100%. I mean,
I'm putting him under my arm and just taking him, and then I'm putting him on a display case.
Yes. Yeah. Or heck, I could even use him as a pet because he's just that adorable. He's my little meow meow.
Yeah, he just
my little meow meow.
Here lies my little meow meow.
Yeah.
I love him. No, I 100% agree. Yeah, escaping from a cocoon.
Although I am a masochist, and I do have a little bit of a god complex, as we all know by now.
Right.
And I think, living with the constant fear of revenge from the other clowns.
Right.
Try me, bitch.
Try me. I dare you. I fucking dare you. No, I 100% agree. I think along with, having to live in the constant fear. So let's say that these killer clowns now just live on Earth and it's just like a bunch of them. You can make it a goal every year to capture one.
Right.
It's like collecting Pokemon.
Yeah.
You just go around
Pokemon,
collecting these bitches. Some of them might be tall, but you might be smarter. Mm-hmm. You never know. I won't appreciate, though, how they have to drink out of me. Because did you see that complex-ass straw that Fatso was drinking out of? Left, right, turn up, turn down, loop-de-loop, roundabout. But
yeah. It was really gross.
They're going to have to drain me a little bit, but that's okay. Because then I'm going to just gain my energy back by eating the cotton candy.
Right.
Because if it tastes as good as it smells, it going to hit. It going to hit. So, yeah. 100%. All right. So we decide to be cotton candy cocoons.
Cotton candy cocoon.
And then hopefully on our way out, we swoop. We swoop one of them on the way out. Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. Okay. So now that we're nearing towards the end of the episode, before we end it, we're going to go ahead and rate this movie. Now, the Kyoto Brothers says it's not a horror movie, but because the horror community has embraced this movie so well, we're going to still rate it with our scary scale. Our scary scale and our satisfactory scale, because just because a movie is good doesn't always mean it's scary, and vice versa. So, Jessica, what are your ratings for this cult classic?
Thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
So, for scary scale,
your little scary scale,
I'm going to have to give it a 2 out of 10. Because, yes, like the Kyoto Brothers said, it's not necessarily a horror movie, but it does have some pretty scary elements in it.
Very scary.
Like Mooney's fucking like puppet thing, that was
disgusting.
Creepy as fuck.
Disgusting.
The clowns themselves are creepy as fuck. Mm-hmm. The beheading was pretty loco. That was pretty loco.
Pretty loco.
But yeah, that 2 out of 10 for scary.
Yeah.
Satisfactory. again, I really like this movie. I'm going to give it like a solid 9.5 out of 10.
Good.
No real big complaints. I would have liked to see, you know, what happened to them, but I guess that's always just that can be left up to someone, you know, anyone's imagination.
Interpretation, of course.
Yeah.
But now that you planted that seed in my head, it's just growing.
It's just growing.
It's growing. So now I have questions. Yeah. Okay.
What about
Sounds
you?
Good. Same. My scary scale is also about a 2 out of 10. It's more of a feel good for me as a horror junkie. So I really love this movie. It's very comforting. I love it so much. So it's, again, I said it with Scream, but it's hard to be scared by something that you find so entertaining. So I loved it. But I do give it where, you know, due diligence, or I do give credit where it's due.
Right.
The fact that the idea of killer clowns landing on Earth and terrorizing people, the idea of it is very scary, uncomfortable. Love it. My satisfactory, you can only imagine where I rate this movie. It's 100 million times out of 10 with 5 exclamation points and 2 hearts. That is my rating for satisfactory.
As you should.
Yeah, I love it. It's a really good movie for all of my horror babies who are not a fan of like Terrifier gore or Terrifier horror or anything like that. Definitely give Killer Klowns a try. There's some beheading moments. But it's really funny because of the way that it's done.
But I mean, it's also the 80s.
Yeah,
and
so
you can definitely tell.
You can definitely tell where the editing happens and like what looks fake and what looks like real or whatever. But it's good. Also, because of that reason, like what I think this movie also does really, really well is making the clowns look so scary because they're animatronics and because they're real costumes. It makes it look a lot worse. So I feel like that's also like another cool thing about the movie. So yeah
I love that. Overall, pretty good movie.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, no
a good
real
one.
big complaints.
We love it.
Well, I think this concludes this episode on Killer Klowns from Outer Space. I think we're pretty much nearing the end, but as always, this was a blast to record. If today's episode intrigued you and you haven't yet watched this movie, number one, why are you still listening?
Absolutely.
So you got all the spoilers.
Yeah.
And number two, if you would like to rewatch it or just watch it for the first time, you can do so on HBO Max, Hulu, and Amazon Prime Video with subscriptions. Or you can purchase or rent it for $3.99 on YouTube, Redbox, Vudu, and Google Play Movies and TV. And again, as always, thanks to everyone, of course, for tuning in and listening. We truly appreciate you all, and if you want to keep up with us, we will have our social media in the summary description of this episode.
Yeah. I mean, I know we always say in every episode, but we do sincerely appreciate all of you for listening and supporting us and keeping up with us, honestly. So with that being said, if you liked today's episode, please tune into next week's episode where we kick off the summer season with another cult classic, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1974. We're really excited. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I think, is one of a good summer staple for horror junkies. It gives, I don't know, I feel like also the theme of Texas Chainsaw is humid.
Very human-y.
And very Texan.
Yeah, very slasher.
Yes.
And disturbing. It's
to say the least.
Disturbing movie,
100%.
but it's always a very good watch, even though I haven't watched it in a hot
I have
second.
not watched the 1970s version in a very long time, and I will say that I grew up more with the 2003 version, so I think what maybe I might do to kind of help a little bit for the generation that grew up with the Jessica Biel version, I might watch it and also compare maybe some things to both, because I know the 2003 version is the one that made me fall in love with Texas Chainsaw as a franchise. But you can't go wrong with an OG. So,
right.
So excited. Yeah. We're excited for that one.
And we constantly live in a Texas massacre because we are
do.
from Texas.
Yep, unfortunately.
But anyway, before we end the episode, Monica, I think it's only safe for me to give you the honors of deciding whether or not this movie was a movie.
I absolutely. This movie is 100% a movie in the best ways ever. If I cannot recommend this movie enough. I mean, we went just through a whole banter of being like, if you've never watched this movie, you really need to. It's such an amazing movie, and it was for sure a movie. Yes,
it was a movie.
It was a movie.
It was a movie.
It was a fever dream of a movie.
100%.
But nonetheless, a movie.
Yeah. Well, there you have
Yeah.
it, guys. Thanks again for listening, and we will talk to y'all next week. And as always, we've been your hosts, Jessica.
And Monica.
Stay safe.
And stay spooky.
Oof, that was scary. I can't wait to come back next week.